Okay. Calling to order the May 27th meeting, special meeting of the Glendale City Council. May we have roll call, please?
Council members: Friedman.
Here.
Najarian. Quintero.
Here.
Weaver.
Here.
Mayor Sinanian.
Here. What's next?
Agenda for the May 27, 2014 special public meeting of the Glendale City Council was posted on Thursday, May 22nd, 2014 on the bulletin board outside City Hall. First item is approval of the minutes for the joint City Council and Housing Authority meeting.
So moved.
Do we have a
Second.
roll call, please?
Council members: Friedman.
Here.
Yes.
Yes, sorry.
Najarian. Quintero.
Yes.
Weaver.
Aye.
Mayor Sinanian.
Yes. Next, please.
Next is a public hearing. Director of Community Development regarding proposed Hampton Inn and Suites Hotel to be located at 315 South Brand Boulevard. 2A is a motion approving standards variances case number PVAR 1410381 signs based on findings and subject to comments and conditions of approval.
Okay. Mr. Ochoa?
Yes, sir. Last year, the council had approved the Hampton Inn and Suites project at the southeast corner, just off of the southeast corner of Brandon, Colorado. The project is moving through our plan check process, and now has come the time to consider the sign package. And so Rather Duong, our planner, will provide you with the overview of the standards variance, which is rather customary for these types of projects as it pertains to our sign program. Rather?
Open the hearing, Mr. Mayor.
Yes. I'm sorry, what would you say?
We open the hearing.
Yes. Open the hearing, please.
Good afternoon, Mayor Sinanian and council members. The project before you is standards variance for signs for Hampton Inn and Suites located at 315 South Brand Boulevard. The hotel was reviewed and approved by council back in February of 2013. The applicant is proposing to install 4 different types of signs, which include building identification wall signs, building identification projecting signs, wall signs, and informational signs. Variances are required to install both the building ID wall signs and building ID projecting signs, as code only permits one or the other, not both, and to exceed the maximum area for the informational signs. This sign directs guests to parking, and the allowable sign area is determined by the width of the driveway. Here's an aerial view of the project site. The site has 2 frontages, one along Colorado Street and one along Brand Boulevard, and it's L-shaped in plan view. It sits behind a corner lot where there is a 1-story commercial building. This is a perspective along Colorado Street showing the locations of all the signs.
Why don't we have a perspective on the brand? Are they requesting any signage on brand?
Yes, the sign proposal includes signage on brand as well.
So we don't have a perspective though from brand?
Not included in the PowerPoint, but this is a representative because the signs are all of the same designs.
So they have the same exact wall signage and projecting sign on brand?
Correct.
Is it staff's opinion that those wall signs, those large ones that are up towards the top of the building, are really necessary for people to find these buildings, given that there's a projecting wall sign?
Well, the intent of the larger signs that's in red is to identify the project site and the proposal from a further distance.
How big are the signs? How big are the projecting wall signs?
The projecting wall sign is but the building identification wall signs are 96 square feet each.
And that's not large? I mean, why is that not redundant with those other signs?
And that sign is within code, and it's the same size for all of them.
No. Why is it not? So they basically have 2 large signs on each side, on Colorado and on Brand, for people that are coming down Brand or going down Colorado, so going up Colorado. So why do they need the 2 signs when they already have the 1 large projecting wall sign?
Well, the projecting sign is intended on a pedestrian scale level, and when you're closer to the hotel on foot, or even in your car, but in a closer range.
Right. One other question, maybe for the applicant. I'm assuming that those signs, the red ones, are their corporate font, their corporate branding, not something that they can alter?
Correct.
Bad. Just because it doesn't go with the style of the building, obviously.
Oh, okay.
It looks very strange. But.
Here's a closer look of all the sign types that are proposed. Again, here's the informational sign that says parking. Now, this sign, while the overall area of the informational sign exceeds code at 42 square feet, the letters themselves are only 15 square feet. This is the sign. This is not working. The one on the lower left hand. Detailed findings were contained in the staff report based on the unique features of the lot, including its lot shape, narrow width, and proximity to a major downtown intersection. Staff recommends approval of the sign variances. I'm available to answer any questions you may have. Thank you.
Yes, Mr. Quintero?
Well, I was going to say that they are large signs, but I think when you come down Colorado or you come down Brand, there's so much traffic, especially Colorado, it's almost a safety. Hopefully people a block or two away are going to see the sign and be able to find the location and not be be aware of their surroundings.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. We have one speaker on this side. We have, one speaker on this item, Rodney Khan. You have, how much time do you need, Mr. Khan?
I could do this in under 5 minutes.
5 minutes it is.
Good afternoon, Mayor, City Council, and City staff. My name again is Rodney Khan. My offices are located here in the city of Glendale. As mentioned by Mr. Duong, our site is located directly across the street from the Americana, and more specifically, we're right across the street from the new Nordstrom's. And as mentioned, our configuration of our lot is a little different. It's unique. It's an L-shaped lot. It has double frontage along Colorado Street and along Brand Boulevard, and actually has very narrow frontages along both streets as well. As you know, our project is the 94-room Hampton Inn & Suites Hotel. Hampton Inn & Suites is part of the Hilton brand of hotels. Hotel in and of itself is a very unique land use, in that many of the guests are from out of town. They may not be familiar with our city streets, and they may not know the location of the buildings they're going to. This makes hotel signs an even higher priority when you compare them to other commercial businesses. Our goal with the hotel signs was to be visible enough so that individuals driving along Colorado Street and Brand Boulevard have the ability to see the building from a sufficient distance. Also, they will know where to park and where to enter and exit this property in a safe and responsible manner. The signs proposed, and this is the Brand Boulevard elevation that was requested, are modest in scale and size. And when you compare them to other businesses in the area, such as the Americana or the Galleria, our request is very minor in scale. Those are some of the other elevations. Councilmember Friedman, you asked in terms of the design of the signs. In this particular, the size, the font, the location on the building, all of those things are for the corporate parent in terms of that signage for this location. We've reviewed the staff report. We've reviewed the conditions of approval. We agree to comply with all of them. I'll conclude my remarks, and I'd be happy to answer any questions you may have. We also have our project team here as well. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Khan. Any questions for Mr. Khan? Any questions for the team? Okay, I'll close the public hearing.
Thank you.
Thank you. Who wants to go first?
I'll
Mr.
make the
Weaver.
motion if you want. If the public hearing is closed, right? You closed
It is
it?
closed, yes.
I'll move 2A.
Second.
Let's have roll call.
Council members Friedman,
Yes.
Najarian, Quintero,
Yes.
Weaver,
Aye.
Mayor Sinanian.
Yes. Next item, please.
Item 3 is also a public hearing, Director of Economic Development regarding proposed Laemmle Lofts project to be located at 111 East Wilson Avenue and 215 North Maryland Avenue. Statutory Development Agreement. At 3A is an ordinance for introduction to approve development agreement.
Okay. Let's open the public hearing.
Mr. Mayor, members of the City Council, this is a development agreement. It is here for introduction, the ordinance introduction. It will be then taken up for a vote the following week. This is a project that is holdover from redevelopment. As you recall from several meetings, the structure of this agreement has changed given the dissolution process with the state of California, but we believe that we have a path to still have the project and make it work. The development agreement does address three main issues, most of which are tied to that dissolution, the delay that we've had through dissolution. First, it fixes the entitlement for 3 years during the 3-year period of the development agreement. This project was entitled in November of 2011. By code, we have certain periods of time that those will run. It has been extended to November of 2014, but we want to ensure that the entitlements are valid through construction. It also confirms the Downtown Specific Plan incentives, one of which is for open space, which this project is taking advantage of. It's offering almost double the open space required. It is predominantly in a plaza area for open seating in front of the commercial and theater component on the ground floor. It, in exchange for that, allows some incentives, bonuses in height and FAR. Finally, it fixes the impact fees for parks and culture and arts and culture. It does confirm it as a pipeline project. When you adopted that ordinance adjusting the fees, you said that the code reads that projects that were entitled before a certain date in this year would be considered pipeline projects. This one was entitled 3 years ago. It certainly is a pipeline project, but the development agreement will confirm that for the 3-year period that the term of this agreement. Planning Commission found that the agreement was consistent with the general plan, and they have recommended your approval. So that concludes my report. Staff is here if you have any questions.
Okay. Do we have any questions?
No, it's just this project just seems to be the project that can't get off the ground, and we've been talking about it for 5 years now, 4 years now. It's really not a new project.
Make sure the public hearing is open, I'm sorry.
So I'd like to see it finally happen. A lot of people ask when the Laemmle Theater is coming to Glendale, and it'd be nice to be able to provide that amenity and to have another true art house cinema in Glendale. So I'm looking forward to it happening. I hope this is the last time that we hear it. I hope it can finally move forward. Just so people understand, this is not a new project we're approving. This is one of the oldest projects that we've had on the books. It's just had some problems caused by the state, and hopefully we've gotten through that now.
Yes, Mr. Quintero?
I agree. I just want to say how happy I am that it looks like we're finally going to get this accomplished this afternoon. That part of Brand Boulevard badly needs an anchor, badly needs an anchor. All you have to do is walk up and down the street, and I think this is going to be a tremendous anchor, not only the Laemmle, but the adjoining restaurant, the housing above it. So I'm very pleased that it looks like finally the state has acquiesced and will let us continue with a project that's been in the pipeline for a long, long time. But it's going to be a wonderful addition to the city of Glendale culturally. I believe it'll be a wonderful addition as well as economically.
Very well, we have two speakers. First will be Rodney Kahn, followed by Kevin Beresford. I got that right.
Once again, Rodney Kahn,
How much time do you need, Mr. Khan?
4 minutes this time.
4 minutes it is.
Good afternoon, Mayor, City Council. Once again, Rodney Kahn. And I've already heard some of the council members touch on this. We actually started this project back in 2010. This project was designed to be the northern anchor of the Arts and Entertainment District, along with the Laemmle Theater, which is directly adjacent to. There are a number of different components to this project. First was bringing in the Laemmle Theaters into our project. Second, as was pointed out, currently on the site is the Panda Inn restaurant. They will be coming back as a partner in the project as well. Third, the 42 residential units, and then also the 45 on-site parking spaces. And when we first proposed this project, we were one of the first projects to introduce a shared car parking, which we now see as a common amenity in many of the projects, along with bicycle storage as well, and lockers. One of the reasons, as Mr. Lanzafame pointed out, for this development agreement was to memorialize the DSP incentive for open space. And as Mr. Lanzafame pointed out, we have more than 141% more than the requirements for the public open space component. And you can see from this chart, it's private open space, public open space, and common open space that we're providing for the project. It's important to note this is a condominium project. This is an ownership project where the commercial space will be subdivided. So Laemmle Theaters will own their space. The Panda Inn restaurant will own their space. And the residential units could be owned for those looking to buy their units in the downtown area. Last, our design. Through input from the City Council, the city staff, from following the downtown specific plan, we feel we designed a building, and we consider it a landmark building that all of the city of Glendale could be proud of. That concludes our remarks. If you have questions, would be happy to provide answers. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Khan. I have a question. What's the range of the sizes of the individual units?
We have unit sizes that range as small as approximately 600 square feet that go all the way up to 1,530 square feet. So it ranges from the smaller units up to the larger units.
But most of the units are somewhere in between there? Or?
It's approximately somewhere in between there. We have a mix, a good mix of ones and twos as part of our units.
Okay, thank you.
Sure.
Unless anyone else has questions. Okay, Mr. Kevin Beresford. Is 4 minutes good?
Good afternoon, Mayor, Council. In regards to the Laemmle project, just so you know who I am, I'm nobody, but my name's Kevin. I own Farniente, or the vast majority of, which is a restaurant that will be adjacent to this project. So you know, I'm a huge advocate of what City of Glendale is doing to put into basically downtown to make it more like Pasadena, which is what my understanding is. One issue I have addressing said project here is the parking situation. I completely understand that we are going to be doing great things with this. I'm looking forward to it, but unfortunately my experience in the past with the project that just finished with the Laemmle Theater, in which half the parking lot behind my business was taken away, is that I see a direct loss in revenue because of this. A lot of my clientele are older. They want valet. I do operate a valet out of the back of my business. I have 5 spots behind it, and we do what we can to facilitate a valet situation. Unfortunately, with this project going in, I want it to go in, but I need the city to work with myself, and I know I speak for the gentleman who owns Tavern on Brand as well, that we need to address the parking situation. You got 32 people, theoretically only 32. You guys have provided enough parking for them underground here, which I think is perfect. But for the theaters themselves, I think the question needs to be asked, where are they going to park? Where are my clients going to park? Where are the Laemmle Theater clients going to park? I think it's a valid question, and I want to see you guys move forward. I put my money where my mouth is 11 months ago and spent $250,000 on a business. Unfortunately, at this point, I'm seeing a little bit of issues with facilitating people getting into the building. They don't have anywhere to go, you know. Everything's filled up. The Orange Street parking garage is full. I park there myself. I get there at 9 o'clock in the morning, and I park on the 3rd floor because everything's full. So I think if I can just ask on behalf, you know, just using this as a catalyst, it's a great thing for me to say, what are we going to do? Can we put valet out front and Brand? Can you guys start building other parking structures? Can we start looking at Brand Boulevard, especially between Wilson and California, in which I think you have 4 empty storefronts? There's a reason for it. Can you guys help us a little bit with this? I want to be along for the long haul with this and all the other projects you guys have going, but unfortunately, if I continue to lose my patrons due to parking problems, I think you guys are going to run into an issue down the street with all of us.
Okay.
All right.
Thank you, Mr. Beresford. Just for 1 second, I have a question. So will this project result in the elimination of any parking space or parking slots that you're currently using or your customers are currently using? Or are you concerned that with the additional strain that it'll impose because it doesn't provide for too many parking spots, it'll take away from whatever other parking spots your customers will otherwise be competing for?
I think you hit it on both of them.
Okay.
First one is my customers as well as Tavern on Brand and all of us who are in this half a block area, all our customers use that specific parking lot to park. Now I've tried to negotiate this by hiring an outside valet company that works on my 5 spots on my personal property I pay rent for. And unfortunately, with something this large going in, there's going to be, I know there's 1 alley behind it between it and the Alex, and then I have my basically 12-foot alley between me and the Laemmle Theater project. There's not going to be any way for customers to get to the back of my business, to get to my valet, let alone even see that we have valet. Just negotiating this is logistically a problem. Now, I've tried to go through different avenues with the city and different people to see if I could get spots out in front from 5 o'clock on, not specifically for myself and my business, but for the whole of Brand Boulevard, kind of like how the Americana valet works. You know, you pull up there, you valet at the Americana, nobody cares what store you go to. But I'd like to see the city maybe make a move on this one to kind of help some of us here. If we could have 5 or 6 spots out front, that would benefit myself, the tavern, the jewelry store, Giggles for whatever it's worth, and the Alex Theater, which, you know, I want the Alex to survive. It benefits me. It behooves me as a business to have that pretty theater. And I think this is just as beneficial. I think we then revert back to how do we get these people to come and park and stay? I can't rely on only people who live within a 3-block radius to come and dine at my restaurant. Of
course.
You know, and same with the Alex. You know, I mean, people drive, they come. It's a cool draw. This is a huge draw. Where does the city, or where does the Laemmle project, whoever's in charge of it, where do they plan on putting these people? Where are they supposed to park?
Okay.
You know, so I just wanted to voice my opinion. You know?
No, thank you. It's greatly appreciated. I mean, I'd like for someone to. Can someone address this at least on a planning level? Yeah, thank you.
Absolutely.
Mr. Ochoa?
I think
Take a seat. Thank you.
There's 2 answers to 2 sets of questions. The first is a construction impact set of solutions there, and then a set of solutions long term. As was pointed out, there is a need for some kind of temporary valet. We are working, ironically enough, with partners of this particular gentleman to identify the right solution for valet parking in the construction interim, trying to figure that out. There is a cost. That cost can be high. And so we're trying to understand what's the best, fairest way to have a level playing field for all of the Brand Boulevard merchants, but at the same time be fair to the construction impact that our project is causing. So we're figuring that out. That will be figured out well in advance of the construction.
That's the short term.
That's the short term. In addition to the short term, for folks that don't necessarily need to valet, there's also the marketplace and the exchange to the south, and then Orange Street to the north. And while the parking certainly is impacted during the day, as you see in this concept of shared parking, as the transition occurs and daytime office users, employees go home, the parking opens up in the evening hours. It happens. Certainly. That said, are there plans for long-term, switching to the long-term, are there plans for additional parking in the downtown? most certainly. In the mid-Brand district, absolutely. As you know, and you've heard my complaint ad nauseum from the standpoint of the state holding on to $35 million of bond proceeds from 2011 that could be used to address issues like this. That is a very real possibility. My understanding at this point is that a bill that would unlock those funds has just passed the Assembly, thanks to our support from our local Assemblyman, Mr. Gatto, and from the Speaker of the Assembly. We're hoping to get it approved in the Senate, and if that happens, then long-term, we can address a number of these issues. But I think there are very reasonable solutions to everything that was raised, both short-term and long-term.
Ms. Friedman?
Well, just a few things. First, thank you for coming. Thank you for what you've done with Farniente. It's so great to see new life in that very well-loved Glendale institution. So I hope that you're doing well, and I know you've been doing a lot of exciting things, and I hope that everybody checks it out, because I know you're doing theme nights and wine tastings and all wine pairings and all kinds of great stuff. So thank you and congratulations on that. This was discussed ad nauseum when this project first came forward, just so you know. We're sort of beyond the point of being able to readdress any of that, but there's a few things I want to say. First of all, I believe that the best boom for your business will be this Laemmle project. When the Laemmle opened on Colorado and Pasadena, near Lake, which, by the way, has no parking. That Laemmle doesn't have one parking space. You've got to walk blocks to park and get to that Laemmle, and yet it's packed all the time, because that's how much of a draw Laemmle is. There was one restaurant near that space. It was a little Japanese restaurant, very, very good. If you go there now, I think there's 4 or 5 large restaurants flanking that Laemmle, because when people go to the movies, I know when I go to the movies, it's always dinner and a movie. It's not just movie. So people want to eat when they go to the movies, and I think your restaurant's going to be a star draw for people who go to the Laemmle. So that's number one. Number two, yes, we're attracting more people to the downtown, which puts more of a strain on our parking lots, which is a good thing. And the last thing you want in your downtown is empty parking lots, unless, of course, everyone's biking or taking public transportation, which will happen one day, but we're not there yet. You mentioned Pasadena. They have a couple public lots, and that's it. Again, you've got to walk. But I just wanted to say that the Old Man Theater that was where the 5-star theater is had a lot more seat capacity than that new 5-star cinema. And they were able to absorb it in the marketplace. Now, I go to the marketplace and park there probably 2 or 3 times a week, and I've never seen it full ever. I mean, maybe sometimes you go to the 3rd floor, but it's a great place to park. You're in the shade. You're not out in the sun. It's free for 90 minutes. I do believe it has capacity for your customers and this theater. And if it doesn't, we've got that lot behind Damon's across the street, which right now is open air, which hopefully one day can be a municipal parking lot that can have 5 or 6 times the capacity that the open air parking lot has. So we have the land to do it. And as Mr. Ochoa said, long term, there'll just be the money. In terms of the valet, I think it's a great idea. And if it works interim, maybe it's something that we can extend and make permanent. It would be a nice thing to have up there for people who really want to valet, both for the theater and for the businesses on Upper Brand. So I hope that staff takes that request seriously, looks into it. Maybe there's a way that the businesses up there can chip in, or maybe our economic development department can do it. I don't know, or just the downtown merchants. Maybe they can work on it. But I think that if the will is there, that, I think that will happen. I know Mr. Quintero had his hand.
Mr. Quintero?
I wanted to start by saying everyone that comes to the podium is somebody. But the owner chef of this particular restaurant is really somebody. And I agree. I've been there twice since the change in ownership, and you guys are continuing a great tradition. I'm actually going to be there, I believe, next Sunday evening. One of the performance going on at the Alex. Afterwards, there's a cast party at Farniente. I think valet parking on Brand in front of these businesses, both the Tavern and Farniente, I think that's a great idea, and I think there'll be some folks that go to the Alex that may want to, in fact, also valet park. The lot behind the Alex, it seems to me, would be a great location to somehow work with the valet companies, and maybe we can do a row or 2 rows there where the businesses on Brand could valet park back there. And then finally, I think the Orange Street, after the construction is over, during the day, I notice an awful lot of contractor types, if you notice, there's an inordinate amount of pickup trucks that are parking on the first two rows. Yet by 4:30 in the afternoon, they're all gone. So I think Orange Street will begin to open up. But anyway, this will just be a big plus for your business. I'm sure of that. But we do have to work with the gentleman to make sure that during the transition, he doesn't lose any customers.
Thank you, Mr. Quintero. I'll merely add that I think we should walk away from today's meeting believing that this is something we're very concerned with. We don't want to sort of invite people in and invite businesses in and not create the prerequisites for them to succeed. I assure you that will not be the case. We are thinking of the short term, mid-term, long term, and because we believe in a comprehensive solution to all these problems, it will be taken care of. And thank you for coming and for the very thoughtful and thoughtful concerns that you've raised today. I think we'll close the public meeting. And unless... Yes.
Just one point of clarification. This is the development agreement. You will see next week, Ms. Friedman, I hope I can say I promised last time you'll see it, the city agreement that goes along with this hand in hand. So today is an important step, but it will have one more afterwards.
Okay.
Okay, I
Just
will introduce the ordinance.
Okay. The ordinance is introduced. Next item.
No other items.
Move we adjourn?
Second.
Okay, we're adjourned.